Hello, everybody. My name is Emilie. Thank you for joining tonight's talk on changing inherited energy patterns. This is an incredible topic. It's a mind-blowing topic, and it has changed my life, and it's changed the life of many people that I've met. And I'm really looking forward to sharing more about it with you. I am an energy practitioner. I've been working with energy for more than 20 years, and I have clients from all over the world who come to me with a variety of problems, from health conditions, chronic health problems, emotional patterns, or relationship difficulties, and they all want to change their life. And many of them have done a lot of work on themselves. They've tried many different techniques, but there's something that is still stuck or something that they still cannot change. The single most powerful thing that I have ever seen is changing the inherited energy patterns absolutely transforms people's lives. When you change the past, when you change the inherited patterns, it gives this whole new boost of energy to somebody's life. Most people don't realize that a lot of obstacles and difficulties that they come across in their life are actually rooted in the past, in their history. How can the energy patterns and emotions of previous generations have anything to do with what you're going through currently in your relationship, or how lucky you are in your career, or how much fortune you have for money, or how happy you are today? From my experience, it has everything to do with it. And the patterns from previous generations are passed down as energy and vibration, and they affect our life in a really profound way. So how are we going to change them? How are we going to change those patterns? So they're energy patterns, and I'm an energy practitioner, so I'm going to talk to you first about energy. Everything is energy. That all physical things, the physical world, material world is energy. The whole universe, the invisible space around you is energy. Energy, original key, or energy is our life force. It's what supports all our organs and cells, supports all our physical systems, helps us to be happy and healthy. And also the original key in the universe is moving all of the universe, supporting all life, is the law of nature. So energy is vibration, light and vibration. It supports all the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. It supports the cycles of life, birth, growth, aging and death, the cycles for plants and animals and human beings. So energy is everything. And we have a body, mind and spirit, and they're all connected, and they are connected by energy. And we are not individual, and we don't exist alone. We are a product of our family. We come from our parents and our ancestors. And their DNA and their history and their stories and their experiences and their emotions, their happiness, their sadness, even their pain is imprinted in our cells, in our body. And the foundation of our life is our ancestors and our history. And I think some of you may have heard of epigenetics. It's quite a new study that is showing and proven that memory is passed down through the generations. I mean, it's really extraordinary. I think we should be talking about it much more, and we think we should be much more worried about it. Some of us know our family history. We know the patterns. We know the experiences people have had, the memories they may have had. But even if you don't, if you think about the world, in the last 100 years, there's been 2 world wars. What kind of traumas have people been through? What kind of experiences have they had? What memories do they have that may now be in us from the past? It's a bit like a tree. If you think of a tree, the invisible root are our ancestors. You can't see the root of the tree, you can't see your ancestors, but all the nutrition is coming up from the root for the tree to flourish and for the tree to bear healthy fruit, which is you. And the same with the foundation of the house. And if you want to build a big, beautiful house, then you need to have a stable foundation. And if you don't have a stable foundation, or if you don't know about your foundation because you can't see it and you don't know what happened in the past, then you may start building up this beautiful big house, and then everything comes crumbling down. And I think that's the experience that happens in a lot of people's lives. They start things, they start relationships, or they start businesses, and something always goes wrong or something doesn't work out. And we all have those friends who try really, really, really hard and put everything into everything, and at the last moment things go wrong, and you feel so much empathy for those people and those friends. And at the same time, we've all got those kind of lazy friends who everything works out and everything just falls into their lap. So, what's the difference between those people? Sometimes, of course, it is the mind, but often it's their karma or the patterns that they've inherited, and they are trying to build something on a very, very different foundation. So how are we going to change that foundation? So it's looking at energy again. Energy is invisible, it's intangible, it's very hard to explain. There are actually many different types of energy. The food is energy, our emotions are energy, people have energy, nature's energy. Energy exists as light and vibration. But to understand inherited patterns, the most important thing you need to know about energy is that energy never dies. It's not my theory. I'm sure you recognize it. It's Einstein, basic science. Energy just changes its form from one thing to another. So, for example, you have a physical life. At some point, your life is going to come to an end, even though we don't always think that it will. When your life comes to an end, is that the end? When your physical life ends, do you think that's the end? I don't believe that's the end. Our life is eternal. Visible things become invisible, and at some point, invisible things become visible again. There's a natural cycle and law of energy, but nothing disappears. So, for example, the past never disappears. If you go to an old house or an old building, 100-year-old house, when you walk into that house, you can feel the energy, you can feel the atmosphere in the walls, the energy in the furniture, and you know that so many things have happened in that place. You may not know exactly what's happened, but the past doesn't disappear. It lasts for a long, 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 long time. And that's just a house. What about people? How much are we carrying from the past? What are you carrying from your parents and your parents that you know, but your grandparents and your great-grandparents and all your ancestors? Energy doesn't disappear, and the past doesn't disappear. It's part of us. But our lives are so intense and so busy and so complicated that we don't normally stop to think that maybe something is influencing us that is not coming from us initially. And certainly, of the clients that I've met many people who are suffering from depression and anxiety. And many people start to suffer from depression after a negative or very difficult life experience. But I have met many people who have had bouts of depression throughout their life that they can't relate to any specific experience. They don't understand why they're anxious or depressed. And most of those people can draw that back to their childhood, and they were depressed or they were anxious as children. And if they didn't have a traumatic experience in their childhood, then where is that depression coming from? Where is that pain coming from? Whose sadness is it? Whose pain is it? And then you have to start to think, our life is not our own. We are very much linked to the past and other people's experiences, other people's emotions. And they're not other people. They are part of us. They're our family and they are our ancestors. And changing those patterns and healing those patterns is good, not just for you, but all your family and all your ancestors, because life never dies, never finishes, energy never disappears. So we are all connected. So I'm going to explain more to you about life and death, because understanding how energy works in life and what happens after your passing is fundamental to understanding why we need to change the past and heal our ancestral patterns and our family patterns. So I'm going to bring up a slide for you. It's going to come up on your screen. So have a little look. This is life. So the first part is a circle, is an empty circle. That's representing energy in the invisible world, and then life is the physical material world. So the circle is balance, harmony, truth, energy, light, the universe. If you're religious, it's the God. This is the invisible energy which contains everything. And if you've looked into many philosophies and Eastern philosophies, they often talk about emptiness, achieving emptiness or nothingness. And that invisible energy, that oneness, is the emptiness or beauty of the mind. So emptiness is not about having no experiences. It's not about doing meditation all day, every day. It's about accepting and embracing everything with love so that you are at peace with everything. You don't have any attachments or negativities to your experiences. And this is very important to understand when I get on to explain what happens after you leave your physical body behind. But let's start with life. So we'll look at the diagram again. So life is a harmony of our body, mind, and spirit. And the three are very much connected. The physical body is coming from our parents. We inherit our DNA. And our spirit is from the universe, the light from the universe. And most of us are totally unaware of our spirit, and we don't feel our spirit. But we do feel our mind. Our mind belongs to us. It's invisible, but we can feel our feelings and emotions and thoughts. And the mind is the most powerful thing we have. It's extremely important. And how we use our mind in our life, of course, affects our life, but it's going to affect our eternal life as well. So let's look at it. The mind, we all know our mind influences our health. If you are stressed, if you are angry all the time, if you are negative, if you're upset about something that you can't let go of course, the tension builds up in the body and you feel unhealthy, and the mind is always changing our health to be better or worse. At the same time, if you are positive, if you are loving, if you are compassionate, if you accept things, forgive others, you're generous, you're grateful, then your heart is really open, your mind is open, and you are spiritually connected. And then our spirit is getting brighter. And the more we do for others, the more love we have and the more we give in our life. It feels like we're losing something physically, but spiritually we're getting brighter and brighter, and that is so important for our eternal life. So the mind is really, really powerful. So how we use our mind is going to affect our life. And also, let's look at another diagram, which is death. So life and death are the same thing. And at some point we have to face death. We have to face the reality of life and death and remove all the fear, because life and death are the same thing. They're just a change in energy, and you are the same. So at the point of passing, the spirit and body separate. So life is the body and spirit coming together, and death is the separation of our body and spirit. So if you've ever been with a loved one when they've passed at the end of their life, most people know the moment when the spirit leaves the body. They know the essence of that person, the person that they love. They know when they've gone, and then the body isn't them anymore. But like I said, energy never dies. So it's not that the body dies either. The body belongs to nature, is recycled by the earth. It belongs to the earth, and it just changes its form. In the same way, your spirit is meant to go back to the universe, back to the light, and stay in a state of peace. And we want that for our loved ones, and we want that for ourselves. And that is the most comfortable thing for us to believe. But we have our mind, and our mind is full of emotions. It can be full of regrets. experiences, traumas, pain. And most people at the end of their life, there are many, many things they haven't digested or resolved or let go of. So after death, the mind and spirit are connected and they become one. And the vibration of the mind often ties the spirit to the physical world. And the spirit then is attached to all the people and the places and situations and emotions that they're left behind with the physical body. And this is a very physical, material world. And that's that we live in a material world these days, but actually we live in a very spiritual universe. And the physical things and invisible things, they're just two sides of the same coin. Our physical life and our ancestors' spiritual life, they are both as real as each other. And when you leave your physical life behind, you don't disappear. You have the same thinking, the same thoughts, the same emotions, and you're still connected. And although our ancestors need to be light and free, we are always connected to the family that created us. But we want them to be free from their pain. You know, when you think about all your friends and living family, all your loved ones, you love them dearly, but most people have some kind of problem. You know, someone's got depression, someone's got angry about something, someone's fallen out with someone else. And if they were left their physical body behind and they were around you, what are you going to feel from them? Everybody's carrying something heavy that we have to release, that we have to clear before the end of our life. So healing the past, healing the patterns is something that we all need to do for our family and also for the world. I'm going to tell you a bit about my personal story before I go any further. I started this practice because of my own life experiences and health problems. And at quite a young age, in my late teens and early 20s, I got ill very suddenly. And I became housebound for actually many years. And I wasn't able to walk, I wasn't able to work. I used a wheelchair if going any distance. And it was a time when all my friends were going out into the world and they were starting their lives and they were traveling the world and they were meeting their partners and they were starting new careers. And I was stuck with this whole new experience, and all my hopes and my dreams and my ambitions kind of fell apart. And instead of an outer world, I was faced only with my inner world. And my journey at that time started with a lot of doctors trying to find a solution to my health issues and get a diagnosis. And I didn't really find a solution. And from there, after a long period of time, I started looking into natural therapies and nutritional therapy and healing. And I tried many things that were really beneficial, that supported healed my symptoms. I could never really get fully well. And then from there, of course, there's so much frustration as a young person. And I felt really trapped. So I started to look into my inner world and try to understand the meaning of life, and looked at philosophy and religion. Still, I didn't find a solution. And finally, someone introduced me to this energy practice, and I started energy classes and had some energy treatments. And my health started to improve a little bit. My symptoms started to reduce. But that had happened many times before. I just couldn't get well. But from the beginning, this was a practice from South Korea. From the beginning, the practitioners would say to me, you need to heal your ancestors. You know, the energy from your ancestors is all around you. I thought it was a little bit strange, but my family had health problems, so I understood it. And finally, I undertook the course to heal the inherited patterns, the ancestor healing course. It was a very spiritual course, so I wasn't completely comfortable at the beginning. And it involved traditional ceremonies and chanting and receiving energy. It was actually very beautiful, very respectful, and I felt very ill during it, but I was very ill. And they kept saying to me, oh, this is the feeling from your ancestors, this is the energy patterns you're carrying. And I thought, well, I didn't say anything, but I didn't think that was possible because I was just feeling ill anyway. But I had the most extraordinary experience at the end of the 3-week course. on the final ceremony, it was like somebody just switched the light on and something lifted from me, something lifted from my whole body, but mainly from my mind. I felt the most incredible clarity, and the depths of my mind were clear. All these repetitive thoughts, negative thoughts, busy mind. I actually wasn't that aware I had that until it had gone. And I can say that in 20 years, that has never come back. It's like the sea. The surface of the sea is always changing with the weather, and life is life. And I have good times and bad times, and good days and bad days. But the depths of the sea are so clear and clean. And I was so astounded to think that what I was feeling and experiencing, and I was a sensitive person, but wasn't my own. And how could that possibly be? And from there, physically, I didn't get better, of course, immediately. I had lost my confidence completely. I had a lot of muscle wastage, but something, always my health was like this, and then something shifted. And I just steadily started to get better. And actually, very quickly, I was back at work and enjoying my life. But as you can imagine, after quite a few years, it was about 5 years at that time, I changed tremendously as a person, and the ambitions I had and the dreams I had weren't really what I thought was valuable anymore. So I found myself in the mountains of South Korea, learning about energy, learning about philosophy. And from that time on, I became an energy practitioner. And I've been very passionate about ancestor healing ever since. And I've seen so many people with depression and anxiety and insomnia and so many different experiences have such a profound change. And actually, I remember one lady, the lady who made me confident to start ancestor healing, because she seemed, I just respected her. She was a lady that was doing the classes at the same time as me. She was an architect, and she told me she had two brothers who hadn't spoken in 30 years. And on the second week of the course, they got in touch and to try to mend their relationship. Now, to this day, I've no idea what happened. I've no idea if they're now talking or if it was a happy ending. And maybe it was a coincidence, but I don't really believe in coincidences. And what I've seen is often big events in our life, especially big traumas or arguments or feuds or tragedies, they normally have been repeated from previous generations. And although you may be able to explain to them, okay, this happened, there is still an energy pattern that causes that situation to occur. And that doesn't mean if you lift the energy pattern that everything just heals, because people have then, it's become part of their life, part of their experiences, and people have built up, of course, their own emotions as well. But ancestor healing the past, gives a foundation that clears you to build your own future, a brighter future, and for your next generation as well. And I'd like to explain what happens when clients come, when people come for healing, when people come for energy, and what do they experience? Well, we feel three types of blockages, and we are all carrying three types of blockages, energy blockages. We have an energy system. We are born with an amount of energy, and that energy has to circulate well. We have to have enough energy. It has to flow smoothly to be healthy, to be happy, to be connected. And of course, when people get ill, they start to look at their lifestyle. So the first blockages we have are from our physical lifestyle, what we eat, our sleep patterns, pollution, exercise, etc., etc. So normally people are unwell, they try to eat organic food, they go vegan, they take a holiday. And I have so many clients who come and say, I eat so well, I spend so much on good quality food, and I sleep 10 hours a day. How can I possibly still be tired? And I look at them and I explain to them, well, you're just dealing with your physical body. And although it's important, we have a mind and spirit. And the other two types of blockages are emotional blockages and inherited blockages, and they are interlinked. Emotional, everybody understands. We have lots of stresses and worries on a day-to-day basis. And if you're going through a divorce, if you're moving house, if you're going through a situation at work, stress can build up over a period of time, and it creates tremendous tension in our shoulders, in our stomach, and you can drain so much energy, and of course you can get ill. But there is deeper emotional blockages that often we don't realize change our vibration, but it's our habits and our opinions and our judgments on people and the world, and layers of things that have built up from our experiences that actually we do need to let go of, and we need to open our hearts, and we need to embrace other people and embrace so many different things to be connected to the universe. So changing the mind is very important, and these days people are very aware of that, and they do a lot of work on themselves. But sometimes you can spend years working on something and an emotion that really was never yours in the first place. And that's why it's very important to start by healing the past, healing not your emotions, but the emotions of your ancestors, your grandparents, great-grandparents, and going back many, many generations. And when you heal that, that unhinges or unhooks all the kind of links, emotional links that are passed down through the generations. And there are many things that run in families. And I've seen many things in the course that can change. You know, something like addiction, for example, it often runs through every generation of a family. I mean, it's a very, very common. And of course, if you have experienced addiction in your family and your upbringing can affect you, what you see, your social experiences, of course, that can cause you to go down the same route. But there is also something else energetically that I want to share as a concept and an idea. If the grandfather in a family dies as an alcoholic, a heavy alcoholic, and then the grandson, who's working very hard and stressed at work, starts to have a drink after work to relax, and then that drink becomes every night, then the vibration and the thought patterns of the grandson become quite similar to that of the grandfather. And then the grandfather's energy, invisible energy that still exists, starts to tune and link to the grandson. The grandson starts to pick up the thoughts and desires and emotions of the grandfather. Before you know it, the grandson's become an alcoholic, and it's very hard to say, is he an alcoholic or is he picking up on the patterns from the grandfather? And actually it can be both. So even if you do something to change the energy pattern, you can cut off that pattern. But the person has then had that experiences and they also need to change themselves. So it's very much interlinked. And the Ancestor Healing course, the Inherited Patterns course that I experienced that really transformed my life is, as I mentioned earlier, is a really spiritual course. It takes 21 days, it's 3 weeks, and you attend 4 ceremonies. It can be done online from anywhere in the world because energy is beyond time and space. And the ceremony is a practice of respect and gratitude. And then there is daily chanting and you receive energy. And the ancestors of your father's family line or mother's family line can receive energy through you and you start to change. I'm just going to show you another slide, a picture. It's going to come up in a moment. I am actually in one of our meditation rooms where we hold the ceremonies and the practice. And now you can see it looks a little bit different on this slide. This is a very big ceremony which is prepared with food and fruit. It's very traditional in Asia. Some of you may know of this. Offering of gratitude through what nature offers, food and flowers. And this is kind of the offering of our heart at the beginning of the ceremony. And then the ceremony involves chanting. And we're using vibration, light and energy to change the vibration of our family pattern. And during the course, you start to release the heavy energy or patterns that your ancestors have carried. And it's quite, some people are very sensitive and they feel a lot, and some people don't feel very much. But it is a spiritual program. So it's not that immediately everything in your physical life changes, but there is a spiritual and energy shift that filters down through all the members of the family. It only needs to be done by one person, but all the family members can get involved if they're open and interested. It can be done for your father and mother's family line. The program can also be done for what we call related spirits, which is other people's ancestors who are connected to your family because of relationships and things that happened in the past. This is clearing a lot of karma and negativity. And at the same time, it can be done for loved ones who've recently passed away that you want to show your gratitude and your love for. It can be done for step parents, adoptive parents. We are influenced by many different energies. It's a really, really powerful course, and it creates a foundation that you can build a different direction for your life, a brighter, a happier life. And when you lift the energy around you, you can also change energy for other people. You know, in this world, we have created so much karma. You know, the individuals have created karma, families have created karma, countries have created karma, and human beings, we've damaged the earth so much, and we've damaged each other so much. We have created so much karma over so many generations. It is very hard to be healthy and happy fully in this world without healing all the past and all the things we've done. And we can start with ourselves, and you change and you brighten yourself and you brighten your family, then you brighten the community, your country, and the whole world. So I hope this short introduction really helps you to understand how important it is to change what we can't see, what's invisible. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I hope it gives you some understanding. I am going to take some questions. So if you would like to send any questions, you can send them through now, and we'll try to answer those. I'll just see if anything has come through. Just one minute. Okay, someone has asked that they've suffered from anxiety for many years, but haven't found a way to manage it, and is ancestor healing something that can help? Okay, I did talk about depression and anxiety early on. We have symptoms for many different reasons, and it would be hard to talk about someone's personal circumstances without meeting you. But we do have a physical body, mind, and spirit. And as I said, there are different types of blockages that cause our problems. And of course, it is definitely possible that ancestor healing could help you, but it's probably better that you first have a consultation with one of our practitioners and discuss deeper about your problem, and they check your energy and see which direction is the best to take for you. Just another question. Will my children and parents benefit from ancestor healing? Okay, yes. When you do ancestor healing, it does change the patterns for your family, other family members, because we all have the same ancestors, and it lifts the energy for everybody. We do have people coming to us saying, you know, I really want to change my mom, and I think she needs to change. So if you want to change someone else, you need to be a little bit careful. You will lift the heavy energy. At the same time, people all have their own mind and experiences, and only they can work on themselves. So you need to manage your expectation around the person's life and their experiences. But yes, it will help all your family members. And of course, what's very important is if you heal the past, then future generations, your children, don't have to carry so much, and they're free to manage their own destiny, and they have more fortune. Okay, one more question. Is the course continuous? Do you have to do this every day? Yeah, the course is continuous. So once you start, it goes for 3 weeks. We do recommend that you do the chanting, which is creating the energy and vibration every day. But there's a reality to people's lives, and not everybody manages every day. You just do your best. So there's some flexibility, and we support you. And once the 3 weeks is finished, then yes, it's finished. And ancestors don't go back. It's not like the human mind, which keeps changing. You know, one day you're happy and you make a new resolution, but then, you know, you fall back into old patterns. For ancestors, they exist as a spirit. Their energy changes, it doesn't reverse. Okay, someone's asking, I've had chronic fatigue most of my life. Is this to do with ancestral karma? I have met a lot of people with chronic fatigue, and one of my problems was ME, myself, chronic fatigue to quite a bad level. People with chronic fatigue tend to be highly sensitive people. And actually, a lot of people are suffering from burnout these days because we are so short of energy, and the earth is so short of energy, and there's so much pollution. Most people that I've met with chronic fatigue, and I have treated many people over the years, there tend to be two problems. Their physical energy is extremely depleted, but they are sensitive and they are very much drained from their ancestral patterns. So it normally needs kind of 2 or 3 way approach. It's important to heal the ancestor karma that gives you the foundation to build up your energy again. And certainly for me, that blockage, no matter how much energy or how much improvement I made emotionally, I would always go back because something wasn't shifted. So I would say it's one of the most important things for people with chronic fatigue, yes. So someone's asking, it all makes a lot of sense, but I don't really understand how or why the ceremonies release the energy. Is this the only way to release the energy? Okay, it's a good question. Ceremonies are traditional practice in many, many cultures, and they come from a time, and that's why it's not so normal in modern life, but they come from a time when people understood about the visible and invisible world being connected. So one way to show your respect and gratitude to the invisible world was to have a ceremony. You put your heart in it, you open your mind, and you make a lot of preparation, and you show your gratitude to, for example, there are different types of ceremonies: gratitude to the universe, gratitude to the earth and nature, and then also to your family. So, for example, in ancient times and traditional times, the farmers would have a ceremony before they start the season to plant the seeds, and they would also have a ceremony of gratitude after the harvest. That goes through many cultures. And this practice is from South Korea, and in South Korea, even today, families will set up a small ceremony at New Year to respect their family and ancestors and appreciate where they've come from. So yes and no, the ceremony is a traditional, very important way to put your heart in something and to connect to the invisible world. And we transmit energy through the ceremonies and through the vibration and chanting. But the most important thing is the light and energy. But the invisible world is that there is a system there. So it's also connected to the system in the invisible world. I hope that answers your question. Someone's asked, how can healing ensure that you don't reconnect with the ancestral energy once the ceremony is finished? Okay, there's 2 parts to that. When the law of nature follows the most balanced vibration. When your mind is positive, bright, happy, loving, then we tend to be closer to that vibration and we are less affected by negative energy. At the same time, we are born with the connection to our ancestors and family, and they don't generally mean you any harm. You know, in Asia, it's very much about respecting where you've come from, and most of the Westerners I speak to, it's like, how can I get rid of them? It's a very different approach, but what the ancestor healing is about is helping your ancestors to be bright, happy, peaceful. So they'll always be connected to you. It's what condition they're in when they're connected to you. So if, for example, you love your family members, your living family, and if they're ill or unhappy or depressed or going through a difficult time, you try to help them to be in a better place. And when they're in a better place, you feel better around them. And it is the same with your ancestors. It's about helping them to be brighter and better rather than making them go away. Okay. So since we have had thousands of ancestors, if not millions, how is it possible to heal through all the negative energy patterns? Very good question. Actually, originally, we connected to 4 generations of our ancestors. This is the very close connection, and the 4 generations are meant to support our life. But it really depends how many ancestral generations you're connected to, depends on the intensity of their life and what they've died with. So people's patterns of their mind tend to last a long time. So you can be influenced beyond 10 generations. And ancestor healing heals all those that have some kind of connection to you. But I don't think it goes back millions and millions. But there are strongly 4 generations, but these days I would say more than 10 generations would still influence you. So if you come from a family line that has practiced polygamy on the paternal side, what would be the recommendation? So this is an interesting question. The more people you've had relationships with, and especially the more people you've had children with, of course, more and more ancestors and spirits come into the equation. Personally, I come from a family where I've had step parents and step brothers and sisters, and that's very common these days. People have second marriages, third marriages, fourth marriages. People are adopted. It's not just your biological line that influences you. It's the family that you've grown up with or have had a strong relationship. So yes, there would be more ancestor healing to do the more marriages that your family have had. And often, if there's complications in the family, you feel that energy is heavier and more complicated, and you're dealing with more things. Okay, so I think that seems to be the end of the questions. So you can find out more on our pages. And what I'd like to recommend, if you're interested in this practice or this course, you can book a 15-minute chat with us to see what's most best suited to you and find out a little bit more. We can assess your energy and your situation and help you understand a bit more personally about the course. And you can get in touch with us or find out more on the page or book a consultation next week. Thank you very much and goodbye.